fixed, flag, flood, flower, flow, fold, folk, following, force, forever, frame, freeze, frequently, friendship, frighten, frightened, frightening, frozen, fry, fuel, function, fur, further, garage, gather, generally, generation, generous, gentle, gentleman, ghost, giant, glad, global, glove, go, goods, grade, graduate, grain, grateful, growth, guard, guilty, hand, hang, happiness, hardly, hate, head, headline, heating, heavily, helicopter, highlight, highly, higher, historic, historical, honest, horrible, horror, host, hurricane, hunt, hurry, identity, ignore, illegal, imaginary.
The Secret of the Old Castle. Last summer, Daniel decided to go to an old castle outside his town. He was a young graduate who loved history and adventure. He was generally a quiet and honest person, but he was also generous, gentle, and very curious. The castle had been empty for many years. A large flag was still hanging from the highest tower, and a strange frame was fixed to the main door. Daniel wanted to learn more about the castle, so he decided to gather information from the old people in the village. An old gentleman told him, "Be careful. Many people have entered that castle, but they never found what they were looking for." Daniel smiled and said, "I am not frightened." The old man looked serious. "You should be. There is a story about a ghost inside the castle." Daniel did not believe in ghosts. He thought the story was probably imaginary. That evening, Daniel entered the castle. The wind was blowing heavily, and rain began to flow down the walls. He walked further into the building and found an old room. There was a table covered with flour, grain, and other old goods. On the wall, there was a picture of a giant man wearing a glove and holding a sword. Suddenly, Daniel heard a noise. He turned around quickly. Nobody was there. Then he heard the noise again. It was coming from upstairs. Daniel began to hurry. He went up the stairs and found a small room. Inside, there was an old book with a historic story about the castle. The book explained that the castle had once been used as a place to protect the village during a terrible hurricane and flood. Daniel continued reading. He discovered that the castle had a secret room where valuable goods had been hidden during the war. Suddenly, he saw a shadow. He was frightened. The shadow moved slowly across the wall. Daniel tried not to hate or fear what he could not understand. He took a deep breath and continued walking. Then he saw a small door. He tried to force it open, but it did not move. He looked around and found a key under an old piece of fur. He opened the door. Inside was a beautiful room filled with old paintings, gold, and books. There was also a document that explained the identity of the castle's original owner. Daniel was glad to find it. Suddenly, the castle began to shake. A loud alarm started to go off. Daniel ran toward the exit, but the door was locked. He tried to hang onto the wall and called for help. Fortunately, his friend arrived by helicopter. He had seen Daniel enter the castle and came to look for him. The helicopter landed near the castle, and Daniel escaped safely. The next morning, the story became a headline in the newspaper. Everyone was talking about Daniel's discovery. The government decided to protect the castle because it was an important historical place. Daniel felt grateful and happy. He knew that his discovery could help the next generation understand the past. From that day, Daniel became famous in his town. People often asked him about the mysterious castle. He always said, "Never ignore history. Sometimes the past can teach us more than the future." And although the castle was no longer frightening, people still believed that a mysterious ghost lived there. Daniel never knew if the ghost was real, but he knew one thing for forever. The adventure had changed his life.